resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of the Council of Municipality of Dysart et al. Held on May 26, 2026 be approved as presented.
Thank you. I'll ask for a mover and a seconder. Pat and Nancy, all in favor? Thank you. Carried. We'll ask for any disclosure of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, thank you. I'll also ask for a mover and second. I don't ask for a mover and second there. Sorry about that. We'll now have a resolution for the adoption of the minutes. The minutes of April 28th, regular council meeting, and also April 28th, the public meeting, please.
Be it resolved that council approves the following minutes as circulated.
Thank you. Mover and a seconder, please. Tammy and Carm, all in favor? Thank you. Right now, we're going to move into the public meeting. We have one item here on the public meeting today. And this is a public meeting to consider one proposed zoning amendments to the Dysart et al. Zoning bylaw 2005-120 held by council under section 334 of the Planning Act for applications D14-ZB-2026007. This public meetings are an opportunity to present to council and the public the details and background to the proposed amendments and to receive comments from the public and agencies before a council decision is made. If a person would otherwise have an ability to appeal the decision of council to the Ontario Land Tribunal, but the person does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions before the bylaw is passed, the person is not entitled to appeal the decision. The first application on the agenda is zoning bylaw amendment file number D14-ZB-2026-007, the lands of Emerson Lumber. Would the planning department please summarize the purpose and effect of the proposed bylaw and provide any additional information and correspondence relevant to the application? Okay, I'm sorry.
Be it resolved that council hereby adjourns the regular meeting of council at 9:04 to proceed into a public meeting to consider draft zoning bylaw amendment file number D14-ZB-2026-007 lands of Emerson Lumber Limited.
Great.
And then mover and second.
Yeah, we'll have Nancy and Barry. All in favor? Thank you. Sorry about that. Now we'll ask for the planning department to do a summary.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone, and good morning. This application is a zoning amendment to rezone the subject property from urban residential type 1 to highway commercial zone. The land use designation of the property is commercial as identified in the municipal official plan. Therefore, the long-term intent of these lands is planned for commercial. In general, this request is about aligning the zoning of how the lands have already been used and designated. The property is currently used for parking and storage that support the neighboring business, Emerson Lumber, which is a retail lumber and building supply operation. At present, the zoning is residential. However, the lot itself is quite small and does not meet the minimum size requirements for residential under the zoning bylaw. The land has been functioning as part of the adjacent commercial use, and this application is to formally recognize the existing use. Looking ahead, the applicant intends to merge the property with the adjoining commercial lands. Rezoning to highway commercial would allow both properties to operate under the same zoning and function as one cohesive parcel. It is important to note that the new or expanded commercial use is being proposed through this application. The existing use, parking, and storage will continue. The amendment simply brings the zoning into alignment with the current and intended use of the land, and any future development would be subject to zoning bylaw provisions and the site plan control were applicable for commercial use. Public comments as required under the Planning Act, all neighboring landowners within 120 meters and applicable agencies were circulated on May 5th, and the application was advertised in the local paper. To date, the following comments have been received. Lana Harvey, which is a neighboring property owner, concerns raised include the potential for more intensive commercial uses permitted within the highway commercial zone, increased zoning and associated safety risk on the predominantly residential street, impact on street parking and visibility, potential decline in property value, and loss of quiet enjoyment of the nearby properties. Concern regarding the loss of potential future residential use of the property and requested that the existing use be maintained. A letter has also been provided and included as its entirety with the report for council's consideration. And Lana is in attendance on Zoom to speak further to her comments and concerns. Recommendation is staff considers this to be an appropriate and reasonable use for the property, particularly given the size and relationship to the neighboring business. The application is consistent with the provincial planning statement, generally conforms to the Dysart et al. Official plan, is appropriate, represents good planning, and recommend that council approve the zoning bylaw amendment. And I'm happy to answer any questions. And again, Lana Harvey is in attendance to speak to her comments.
Hi.
Hello, Lana.
I'm here. Hi, I'm here. And sorry, I can't get my video working at the moment. I'm trying. But can I say a few things?
Yes.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. So I butt right behind Emerson. What I did do is, because of my concerns, I have talked to some neighbors, and each and every one, owners and tenants all up Victoria Street are completely opposed to this also. Not the fact that it's what's happening now, because it's fine now, but what could happen in the future, with the fact that it's going into highway commercial. Also, the fact that the values of this house, along the street, I'm a 20-year veteran with real estate, and I know the impact that this could make. I did, with my concerns, call Kim Emerson, and asked him, because it did say in the application, it did say that under the purpose and effect to maintain the existing parking and storage, which is absolutely fine. I don't think there would be any issue with that at all if it was maintained. I had asked him if we could put a provision in, and then would be fine and done. He said absolutely not. So what that tells me is that future, that it'd be completely out of our control. And because this is a street that there's a lot of walkers, there's a lot of kids walking in that corner, because it will increase the traffic. It could be bigger trucks. If they decide to take a little piece of their building down and make it a shipping and receiving, we would have absolutely no control over that. And it is a very, very large concern. There's some new people on the street that would like to have kids. As they say, there's a lot of walking. The values of the houses will definitely decrease. And I do have the names and I have signatures of everybody on the street who are opposed to this. And there again, if we could put a provision in, to have it maintained, and you know what it's happening right now for future, that would be fine. And I also understand that I think about 5 years ago, I'm on 36 Victoria Street, so I can see, I can see the parcel that we are discussing. And 5 years ago, this house, when it was for sale, it was, the residential, commercial was denied, for this 36, which butts on to 30, for commercial. So I also know that the official plan was changed 2018, 2020, 24 to make this parcel, for the official plan, which is a little confusing to me, because of the fact is 5 years ago, I don't know enough about all this, but I do know that it was denied, and it would make a very huge impact going forward if they decided to not maintain it as just a storage and parking. So that's the concern for the future. Thank you very much to council for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Helena. Does the applicant agent have a presentation or wish to make any comments?
No, the age or the owner isn't in attendance today, so no, there will be no presentation by them or any comments.
Okay, all right. And are there any questions or comments from the council to the applicant, agent, the manager of planning, or any persons who have made presentations from members of council? Barry?
Chris, you said that any change in use would have to come back through council again also, right? If they tried to change, like, say, an entrance for trucks or something like that, how, there'd be a site plan agreement, or how's that work?
Yeah, so if it's commercial use and they are to expand or, do development on that portion, they would have to typically go through a site plan agreement, which would ensure that it enforces the commercial provisions as well. So which would be appropriate planting strips or setbacks, buffering, those type of things on that property to ensure that there is buffering between neighboring properties, which would be the residential and the street. Any commercial entrance would require an entrance permit, I believe, from Public Works. I would have to confirm that with them, but typically that's what would be required if they are looking to do any sort of commercial entrance out of that area.
Okay, thank you. So it sounds like we've got lots of controls in place if something changes.
Correct, and they have to go to the provisions of that zone, the commercial, which does require, again, those mitigations between the neighboring properties.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Pat, go ahead.
Well, I stopped in and talked to Kim there a bit ago, and he said it was for parking and everything else. And I'll say I support it, and that, a lot of Kim's employees do park in the parking lots beside the bridge, so that'll relieve a bit of parking stress on the town. And as to echo what Barry said there, like if there's any other controls that need to be put in place later on because of a change in use, like an entrance is in play, then that gives us a buffer to control that. But to speak to the comment that was made about it being turned down as commercial when it was listed, I could see that, because again, if it was listed, if they were trying to get commercial on it in its own form as a small lot, I could see that being turned down because it's too small to do anything with on that note. So anyway, if Kim absorbs that and takes it in and again, makes a parking lot out of it, to me, I support all that for sure. So.
Okay, any other comments from council? Okay. As a result of these proceedings, does the planning department have any recommendations or comments that you wish to bring to the attention of council?
No, just the recommendation was to approve the application.
Okay, thank you.
So I can read the resolution if you'd like me to do that.
Okay.
So be it resolved that the report for file number D14ZB 2026-007 Emerson Lumber Limited, which consists of part lot 17, concession 8, plan 1, block Q, lot 6 and 7, part 1 and 2, plan 19R-4416 in the geographic township of Dysart, municipality Dysart et al. Be received for information, and that council directs a bylaw be brought forward for consideration during its May 2026 regular meeting, and that council recommends that the bylaw be approved.
Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Carm and Barry? All approve? Thank you. You. Sure, please.
Be it resolved that council hereby adjourns the public meeting at 9:15 a.m. and reconvenes the regular meeting of council.
Mover and a seconder, Nancy and Tammy? All in favor? Thank you. All right. Okay, now we'll have to do another resolution to go back into the regular meeting, right? Okay, so we'll do a resolution to go into close, please.
Be it resolved that council adjourn its regular meeting at 9:16 to discuss matters pursuant to section 2392 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended pertaining to a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land in the township of Dysart, lands of Dysart et al., County Road 21, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land in the township of Dysart, Stothart Creek subdivision, and litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board bylaw enforcement matter.
Okay, I believe we should be doing a resolution doing the minutes, or that was. Okay. Okay, well, we move in seconder, please. Barry and Pat, please. Okay, all in favor? Thank you. And now we'll have the Biglieri Group.
And then later on, shut it off.
Okay, we're back to our regular council meeting. We'll start first item. The fire department's going to have a report, and I believe Dan, you're going to come on. Yeah. Maybe. Okay, Dan, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me clearly?
You're on.
Great, wonderful. Thank you very much for having us in here. Basic standard report, just to let you know what's going on. Pretty much our numbers are right in line with last year's for fire calls. A lot more medicals, a little bit of concentration this year. We had seemed to be an issue going on around town where we had a consistent call for medical items instead of some of the other things we've concentrated on past years. Comparatively, last year we had 4 fire complaints by this point because it was a little drier spring, although we are getting into the dry spring already, unfortunately. So I don't have anything extra to report there unless there's any questions from council.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Okay.
Be it resolved that council acknowledges receipt of the fire department report for April 2026.
Okay, all in favor? Mover and second, sorry. Nancy and Pat, all in favor? Thank you.
Go ahead, Dan.
Okay, sorry. So the second staff report here that's been forwarded. This is the automatic fire aid agreement that the 4 fire chiefs within the county have been working on collaborating for a couple of years now. We've actually had sort of a verbal agreement, and we brought this forward to just in commentary previously. What it truly means for the municipality, there's no financial impact. What it's just formalizing that when dispatch gets a notification, they automatically send a second department. And in our case, it depends on which direction we're heading. It's the closest neighboring department. And this is for structure fires. And during a fire ban, there could be an actual brush fire. So these would be immediately calling out the neighboring departments for that. And we're also talking about trying to do technical rescues going forward because we don't all our departments aren't all equipped and fully staffed with rescue personnel. So this is the intent of working on this. These are items that we would be already calling on our neighboring departments for in mutual aid. The whole process here is by formalizing it and having called by dispatch immediately. We're not having that delay where somebody has to make that decision. Is it a structure fire? Is it a structure fire? Do we go on and do an assessment first? We already have personnel en route, and if necessary, we have them stand down. But ideally, we have them stand down, I guess. But if necessary, we have more help coming because, again, our departments are all volunteer, and it's a matter of having as many personnel on site as possible to work safely, and people have a chance to cycle out and get some rest before they go back in. So that's the general premise. I don't know if there's any questions from anybody in regards to that.
Any questions? Okay, we'll have a resolution.
Wonderful.
Resolved that bylaw 2026-43 being a bylaw for entering into an automatic fire aid agreement between the Corporation of the United Townships of Dysart, Dudley, Harcourt, Guilford, Harborne, Bruton, Havelock, Ayr, and Clyde, the Corporation of the Township of Minden Hills, the Corporation of the Township of Algonquin Highlands, and the Corporation of the Municipality of Highlands East be read a first, second, and then third time passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached thereto.
You have a mover, seconder, Nancy and Carm. All in favor? Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, the next item we have on is Parks, Recreation and Events, and we have Andrea coming on. Hi, Andrea.
Hi, Walt. Good morning.
Yeah, I think your first item is in regard to the goose control, so go ahead. It's all
Yeah.
yours.
So I was asked to bring forward some information about what's been done for goose control in Head Lake Park and our surrounding parks over the years. So I wrote a fairly lengthy report on that. I'll just summarize. Approximately 15 years ago, Dysart hired Leora Berman to help with the goose problem because back then, and this was before I was here, there were up to 400 geese or more along the boardwalk area, like between the lights and Head Lake Park and around Head Lake Park. And so after studying that for some time, she put those, I call them landing strips. They look like goose gardens on an angle between the boat launch and the lights to deter geese from coming up there. There was a lot of goose tape put up to deter geese from nesting along the shoreline because at the time there was not as much vegetation, so there were more optimal nesting areas for the geese. With those measures and with everything that's been done, and then the shoreline being naturalized and growing, you see it too along the Rotary Beach section. There's a big buffer between the water and the pathway that's all vegetation, and that's to deter geese from nesting there, and it creates other environments for animals to live. So that helps with the nesting. Our problem seems to be in the fall when the geese migrate and when the young can fly and feed. They look for those open grassy areas, and they want that space where they can still see the water, they can still see an easy exit, but they fly and they look for the big openings. So we have a problem with that around the playground area of Head Lake Park. Last year we talked to the falconry people, but to help mitigate the geese, they'd have to come in repeatedly for many, many weeks to try and deter them and to get them to go away. Years ago, I looked into other options with suspended things above head and stuff, but I found that those things don't, from everything I had researched, it said they work for so long and then the geese get used to them. So I think our big thing is trying to figure out how to get them away in the migratory times. We may have to put up some goose tape along the shoreline next year, like in and around the band shell, and where there's open areas where they can easily see the grass and easily see the lake, to deter nesting, because there's been some areas that have opened up a little bit, and we don't want them nesting there. Council supported projects at Halliburton Lake Beach to help with goose control. Again, they did some plantings, they did goose tape, and as far as I know, it's helped. It definitely helped with the nesting part. I don't know about the migratory part. And then around Sam Slick Park, not Environment Halliburton, one of the cottages, one of the Halliburton Lake, not Halliburton Lake Cottage, the Halliburton Property Owners Association took on a project, and they worked with people, volunteers and high school students, to put a buffer up around Sam Slick's Park, because again, that was another common spot where the geese were going. They still cross the road from the high school and head there, but the water access has been greatly removed. The main spot where they still access is at the snowmobile crossing, which people use that to fish and everything too. So I don't know what you can do there, but that's what's been done for geese in the area.
Any comments? Questions? I have a question. I might have missed this point, Andrea, like the goose tape.
Yeah.
Is it really expensive?
It used to be, but when I was looking, now you can get a roll for, you can get a decent sized roll for around $30 to $50. So when we were doing it back in 2013, 2014, the tape was much more expensive. But I think now with Amazon and all the shipping and everything, you can find cheaper options. It takes time. You have to go out and string it strategically and have it placed along the lake. And then ideally you want to remove it so it's not there all year, because it flaps and it's not the nicest thing to look at. But
So needless to say, it's too late this year. Is that what that's?
yeah, it's too late this year, and I don't think there were any geese nesting along our shore. But they do come up around the band shell. They do have some open areas that have been created. Like we lost a major tree that created an opening into the water last year with storms. So where there's those openings is where they tend to nest. And if they don't see anything on either side of them, then it looks like they can watch for predators, then they're going to choose to nest in that area.
Well, is there not a way that we could pick out some spots that are quite open and put some goose tape down for right now?
It won't help us out. Well, it might help for when they have the young. If they're coming up to feed, we can look at that. It's mostly to keep them away from nesting, because once they fly, they're going to go over that and come in.
Okay, anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, when they planted, did they plant anything at the shore or just up the side of the hill beside the highway? Do you know?
They planted at the shore at Sam Slick Park, and
Were
I'm
they
not sure.
regulars, or were they something else?
It was native species. They removed some of the non-native species and they replaced them with native species. As far as along the shore and along Head Lake Park, I don't know it was before my time, so I don't know if that was stuff that was already there and they just let it grow, or if they planted specific things. I know Leora definitely planted the sideways gardens, like the landing strips, the angled ones that you see.
That's what I was getting at, because again, there's two parts to the problem, where if the geese are coming in from the water to the land is one thing, but if they're
Yes.
flying in and able to land, say where the band shelter is or the high school is another great example. Like when these kids are playing soccer, certain times of the year, they've told them not to touch the ball because it'd be coated in goose crap. So on that note, I don't know that the tape would work in that instance, but I would suggest that we look in other control measures to address the goose problem on that note. On a totally different, anyway, we'll finish off the goose conversation, but in terms of trimming our trees and doing everything else to finish up what we started there in the spring, I'd like to see that continue, as well as there's a couple dead trees. Anything that's dead along the side of the shore there should be pulled out, especially where the docks are. Got 2 or 3 cedar trees and some other things there alongside the lake that should be tidied up. Because if those branches fall in the lake and the water skier hits them later on, then it could be a problem on that note. But the goose problem is something that we still got to lead the charge on that note, because it's not, those measures help. I don't see 400 geese there anymore, but on the same note, we still got to be vigilant whether that's a, you know, coyote call or a control permit or something like that, we deal with that in that aspect. We're not trying to be cruel, but on the same note, I'll be blunt, geese are kind of like mice. They're cute to look at, but they're a pest on that note. And it becomes a health issue, in that regard. Health is one thing, but also letting everyone enjoy the you know, the band shell, grounds and also for our kids on the field. But anyway, I'd like to see us, it go down the road of coming up with a few more measures to get a solid plan in place moving forward to the summer.
So we would definitely want something, because they'll start coming in mid-August, the end of August. That's when we notice the most, for sure, in the park area and obviously at the high school. Like, I know the high school is not our property, but that's when we really notice it.
Do we, or is it the county owns the rail trail corridor? Does Dysart own anything around there? Is it just the county?
The
Yeah.
county owns up as up to the sidewalk. At the, like,
The
on
rail
the high
trail
school
corridor.
side, on the rail trail side. Once you cross over at the lights, then it's Dysart.
Okay.
Okay, everybody else okay? Just quickly, Andrea, I'd like to see, check into any other communities. I'm sure you've done this, but I'd like to check again that have this problem, because we've got to, like Pat says and everybody says, we got to resolve this for our community, for all the
Yeah.
people that are coming to town, whether they want to walk around the park or.
Well, Walt, I know at Pine Stone, it's way better there now, and they've got a control permit there. They can take 8 a week.
Yeah.
And look at the difference just made down there.
Sounds good, Carm.
So I don't know if that's an option in town or not, but that sure made a difference at Pine Stone.
Okay. Thank you. We'll have a resolution, please.
Be it resolved that council receives this report as information.
All right. Mover and seconder, Nancy and Barry. All in favor? Thank you. And your next item?
So we received a request from the grade 8 graduation committee, looking to see if council would grant them the use of the AJ LaRue Arena Auditorium on June 23rd for after their graduation ceremony, for the students and their guests to come over to the arena and have a little bit of a celebration. So it's an event that would be supervised by parents, and I believe they have some volunteer teachers. Obviously, they're grade 8 students, so they're just looking at some pop, chips, that kind of thing, and having a little bit of a dance. If council agrees to that, the total cost of renting that space would work out to $212.25 prior to tax. So that's what they were looking to have waived. We have staff working because they're making ice. So there's already staff there. It's not that we have to bring in extra staff.
Any comments? Sounds like a no-brainer.
Yep, I think good thing.
Good thing. Okay. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that council agrees to waive the auditorium rental fee for the J. Douglas Hodson Elementary School Grade 8 graduation party on June 23rd, 2026.
Okay, I have a mover. We'll have Pat and Tammy. All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
And Walt, sorry, I got one question. Andrew, are you still there? Oops, gone. I guess I thought I was.
I don't know about the park.
Did we replace the blue ones?
Perhaps, I'm not sure about the park. Island Street's been replaced.
Sure. I didn't, and she might have already answered for it, but there was benches removed up to
microphone.
Echo Hills on the street up there and possibly some in the park too. Are they replaced? So,
The one on the way to Echo Hills has been replaced.
okay.
The ones, if there were any removed in the park, it was because they were damaged, but we have lots of benches in the park. I know there was one that was taken out and replaced that a snowmobile looks like it
Okay.
had hit, but other than that, I don't know of any
Okay,
other
that's
benches
good.
that
No,
were.
I just had
removed,
a
so-
couple of calls from people concerned, especially about going up to Echo Hills
Yeah.
for people to stop.
Yeah, that one has been replaced.
Okay.
So
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Andrew. Okay, our next department, we have, building and bylaw with Carl. He's going on.
Good morning again, council. We can start off with the building permit report for April. So April had decent numbers, average numbers. Permit revenue was higher than typical April numbers. Number of average daily inspections is down, probably as a result of lower permit numbers in the last few years. Last couple of years anyway. Any questions on that report?
Yeah, I had a question, Carl. I had a couple of gentlemen ask me if you could read out what they say the permits were last, like in March, and what they are today at council meetings. They just like to know that figure.
But it's in
I
the
know
report.
it's in the report. I told the people
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
They'd like you to say in March there was 26.
Okay. So in April, there was 40 permits.
Okay.
For a construction value of $6,424,000. And that's brings us to a total of 106 permits to the end of April.
Thanks very much. Okay, we have a resolution.
Be it resolved that council receive the April 2026 building permit activity report as information.
Mover and a seconder. Barry and Pat, all in favor? Thank you. Passed. Okay, next one, Carl.
So this is just an update for basically dealing with our building code orders and compliance initiatives. So back when we initiated the septic maintenance inspection program back in 2018, we realized that there was going to be a lot of non-compliance, and how do we deal with these non-compliance issues? So what we do is after we do the inspection, we send them a letter indicating, these are the issues with your septic system and here are the options to deal with that. If they fail to respond to that, or provide us with that, with a resolve within that time frame that we give them, and it's usually about 20 days, we move on to an order, and we issue them in a formal order. So the number of orders we've been issuing is very high. So like large cities don't issue this many orders. So what we did to deal with these orders is that we created this order review fee under our building bylaws. So once a month, we go through the open orders, we send them a letter saying, hey, look, you have this outstanding order. Don't forget about it. Here's a $500 review fee that we're charging to your property if you fail to comply with this, because you failed to comply with the due date of that order. So it's worked very well. So between 2022 and 2025, we've issued a total of 740 orders, and we currently only have 23 open orders. So that number fluctuates a bit every month, but we've brought it down significantly. We've had so much compliance with that process. I just wanted to provide this as background for council. Any questions on this report?
Yes, I just wanted to know, that's a really good number from 740 to 23, but are the 23 mostly septics or is it other?
There's a few others. So the majority of the orders that we issue are with regards to our septic maintenance inspection program. We probably issue another 2 to 3 a year for building code of offenses. So the majority of those are definitely septic maintenance inspection program numbers.
Okay, thanks.
Any further questions? Okay, resolution, please.
Be it resolved that council receive the building code orders and compliance initiatives report as information.
Yeah, mover, sorry. Pat and Nancy? All in favor? Thank you. Okay, next, Carl?
Go ahead, Abby.
Great. So for our bylaw report for this month, numbers are steadily increasing. Lottery licenses are coming up. Our campground licenses are coming up with the summer season and everyone renewing. We did have some inquiries about the line painting. So we just wanted some council approval to get the business entrances on Dysart Avenue and the Canada Post driveway on Maple Avenue for the cross, like the hatching, to make sure so that it's easier for people to see that there's no parking.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that council acknowledges receipt of the May 2026 bylaw update report, and further that council approves of painting cross-hatched lines at the business entrances on Dysart Avenue, as well as the entrance to Canada Post on Maple Avenue during the 2026 line painting schedule.
Yeah, mover and seconder. Barry? And Carm? All in favor? Thank you.
Walt, just quick, before they disappear there, this might be a question for Rob too. And just had someone talk to me the other day about whether it was possible to get paint the statement of do not block intersection in front of Snaffle in Maine where the flower shop is, that intersection. Because very often people will pull up there and they block the whole intersection off while traffic's trying to move around. And I didn't know if that's within our jurisdiction, Rob, or the counties, or whether we could do that at that intersection in a way.
Parking?
Well, no, when they're coming up that grade, they're stopping and blocking that whole intersection off. That's what the problem is, but anyway.
Oh, yeah, I understand. I have to leave that one with me. I don't think that's not really an enforcement matter, I don't think. I'm not sure how we identify that, but leave it with me.
I don't know if it's even if it's advisory on that note, but anyway, just, it was brought up. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? Resolution, please. Okay.
Our short-term rental report for this month of May. Again, steady applications coming in, renewals are coming in. We did send out our short-term rental survey, so it is public, and I should have results for the next council. And we are also doing our short-term rental inspections, and they are working with great success.
Questions?
Just a quick question. It says that there are 48 applications, but only 30 have been approved and none have been denied. Where are the other 18 going?
So they can be pending due to just needing site plans, just needing the documentation that they're required to submit. So they're just kind of, I'm waiting for that information to be sent back.
Okay, thanks.
Be it resolved that council receives the short-term rental program report May 2026.
Mover and seconder. Barry and Pat. All in favor? Thank you.
And
All right, the next report is bylaw 2026-40, appointment bylaw for Darcy Payne for seasonal septic inspector. So as council is aware, this year we are focusing on the short-term rentals as our inspection. Part of that inspection is a septic maintenance inspection. So this is to appoint Darcy as that seasonal septic inspector.
Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that bylaw 2026-40 being a bylaw to appoint a building inspector sewage systems under the Ontario Building Code Act for the municipality of Dysart et al. Sewage System Maintenance Inspection Program, Darcy Payne, be read a first, second, and third time pass, signed, and corporate seal attached here too.
Mover and seconder. Nancy and Carm. All in favor? Thank you.
Go ahead, Abby.
So much like the septic maintenance inspection, we're also looking to appoint Darcy to be municipal law enforcement officer as well, she is doing the short-term rental inspections for us and supporting the bylaw department for the summer as well.
Okay, could I have a mover and a seconder? Oh, sorry.
No problem. Be it resolved that bylaw 2026-41 being a bylaw to appoint a municipal law enforcement officer, Darcy Payne, be read first, second, and third time passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached here too.
Yeah, mover and a seconder. Pat and Carm, all in favor? Thank you. I guess that's it for Abby and Carl. Thank you. Next we have up Rob, Public Works. There's Dave. Okay. Well, the road status report.
Okay, good morning, council. My road maintenance status report for April 2026. I'll end off the winter operations on this first. So winter patrol finished up on April 13th. Winter operations finished up in general during April. We started our road construction on Dome Street. So that's ditching and culverts, and also on Pine. Brushing and tree removal was ongoing for multiple locations, and road sweeping is underway. So we've completed multiple areas already, and we're ongoing in Kinesis Lake right now for road sweeping operations.
That's great. Anybody have any questions? Okay. The resolution, please.
Be it resolved that council received the roads status report for April 2026 as information.
Mover and a seconder. Nancy and Carm, all in favor? Capital project update.
Yeah, just a quick one on this. So on update number 3, the first highway bridge on Green Lake Road has been completed and the road is now open. The next bridge on Berry Line will start on I want to say July 17th, in accordance with the M&R work permit. So that one should be complete, I'm guessing October, end of October is the hope on that. The other big one is the Highland Street Public Realm improvements is underway on Highland Street in town. I'm anticipating the end of next week, the south side will be complete. At that point, we'll jump over to the north side and hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get everything done prior to the end of June. But regardless, we'll make sure that everything's tied in together and make it safe for the summer.
Great. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that council received the report on 2026 capital projects. Update number 3 is information.
Have a mover, seconder. Barry and Nancy, all in favor? Thank you.
Sorry, Chair, before Ashley starts, I had a question I wanted to pose to council, and I meant to bring it up last fall, but it slipped off my plate and here we are. So the home show is this weekend over at the curling club. We do have 2 sets of speed bumps in that area that we're not putting in until after the home show. We left them in last year and there was a bit of a trip hazard there. So we purposely left them out. And my question is, because in my observation, I've noticed some vehicles circumventing those speed bumps and actually going up onto the sidewalk. And I don't know if anybody else has seen that, or if we want to reconsider where we place those speed bumps, because I don't want to solve one problem and create a bigger problem. So I'm putting it out there if anybody else has seen it. If we want to put a hold on that until we can kind of review it and find a better spot or a better option on how to keep people from flying through there. I just don't want to put them in and then have the same situation.
We put them on the sidewalk and right across the grass, right up at the building.
Mild accessibility issue there, but yeah, anyways, just food for thought. I mean, we don't have to put them back right away. But if we want to review where they are or what we can do, now would be the time to do it.
Yeah, there's definitely a better spot than maybe on the corners on a 45 or something, maybe, I don't know, but we'll leave it to you to. Yeah.
Mhm.
There you go.
Okay, well, we will review on site and I'll reach out with any recommendations.
Great, great. Next,
Morning.
Ashley.
Good morning. Sorry, I was just unmuting myself. My first report is based on visits from our consultants from JP2G, which occurred in April. They had various suggestions for our sites, which included Halliburton being the only site to take construction and demolition materials. They had also suggested that we use the concrete pad to push construction waste into trailers. At Harcourt, they had also added that we should cease to accept empty oil containers. At Kinesis Lake, to do the application of final cover, drainage of ponded water, and waste beyond the boundary is required to be pulled back. This we have plans to complete this year. We should have extra material left from final cover at West Guilford that we're hoping to utilize at Kinesis. West Bay, they would like the trench remedy to safe conditions and test pits should be dug to verify the depth of cover prior to placement of final cover. And the West Guilford Waste Disposal Site, we're still looking to have the beaver dam removed. Unfortunately, it didn't happen this winter, so we're planning to complete it this year. Damaged and destroyed monitoring wells should be replaced. And all items that weren't budgeted for this year, we will budget for the 2027 budget. Does anyone have any questions or concerns?
Yeah, I have a question. When they recommended that the Harcourt landfill site to see C&D, what was their reasoning? Did they give you that?
Typically, I think with West Guilford as well, it's spacing, having the materials on the ground as we're not landfilling anymore. We did have the MECP come out recently and they didn't like the fact that there's waste mixed with material. So yeah, it was suggested to use a concrete pad at the Halliburton site.
Do you know, that's not really going to go over well to drive 40 minutes or more.
Absolutely.
Probably some of them are an hour. So is there any other alternative? Like there's a dump like 5 kilometers on the Highlands East side. Do they?
Yeah.
C&D?
They don't accept C&D at that site. To my knowledge, their hours are also quite reduced and they would need to amend their environmental approval to accept waste outside of their municipality.
So we need another alternative. And I questioned about the just the waste from cleanup from the trees and that. And I did some digging and we're the only landfill site that doesn't put it in with our C&D. So but we charge for it and it stays there. So is there a possibility that the trees and debris, natural debris, why is it being charged since it doesn't get moved? So we have no cost to it.
Yeah.
Can we look into that?
Yeah, I could look into that.
Okay. And then another option for Harcourt.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
Rob has a question.
Sorry, is this specifically for Harcourt where the brush was not being dumped in with C&D?
Yes.
Curious.
It all started because Harcourt got hit the worst with the storm. So they have the most brush. But nobody takes it there because they charge $50 a load. But if they dump it over the banks somewhere else, that's where it's going because they would need it off their property. But then I find out that we don't move it and it doesn't go with C&D. So why are we even charging?
It should be moved. It should be
Mhm.
shipped out with C&D.
Well,
So-
maybe it should be, but it's not.
But thanks for that. We will definitely look into that.
Yes. Okay.
In the future, Rob, is there any chance of a transfer site for C&D out that way, or is it?
Yeah, is that?
Are they going to a full closure there? Is that like?
No,
Okay.
no, the intent is to do transfer at Harcourt. But yeah, just with the logistics with C&D, they are smaller volumes. We're not obligated to accept C&D, so we do that as a service. But it's just one more thing we have to handle and we have to truck out, that's all.
See that as a struggle just for, everybody's talking about carbon and everything else, when we're driving an hour in each direction, fuel problems, fuel prices, but anyways, as we move forward, I think we should look into that too, if it's going to a transfer site, whether we can build in some positive actions there to try and do that. Otherwise, it's gonna happen. It's gonna end up going on the side of the roads and places nobody wants it. But anyway, I know it's a problem that's even bigger than we are here in regards to MECP, and if they made it easier to gather the waste and deal with it, then it'd be evidently easier for everybody down the food chain. Anyway.
Yeah. And again, these are just recommendations for discussion. I mean, there's nothing here that says thou shalt thought. It's just for information.
Totally different set of rails here. Where are we at with Dysart's revamp of the landfill on that note?
Ongoing. On the interim, we do have to do some retaining wall repairs. So between Halliburton and West Guildford, we do have significant dollars in the operating budget to repair those.
Okay.
In the hopes of holding it together, quite honestly, until we can do the revamp. So it's just really buying us time at this point. So I expect to see, Ash, correct me if I'm wrong, but I expect to see something this fall on paper to say this is what we're going to do moving forward, or seek approval on what we want to do moving forward. So
Good stuff. That question was for both of you.
Thank you.
Okay. Everybody fine now? Good. All right, well, have a resolution, please.
Be it resolved that council received this report from J2PG Consultants for information purposes.
Mover and seconder. Tammy and Pat, all in favor? Thank you.
Okay, my second report is to request to temporarily suspend the acceptance of construction and demolition materials at the West Guildford Waste Disposal Site beginning July 3rd, ending no later than September 29th, 2026. The purpose is to allow us to apply final cover to our landfill site. As of January 1st, 2022, we ceased all landfilling operations. Typically, this is something that would have been completed within 12 months. We're now getting it done. We will need space for equipment and materials to be placed and for operators to safely move. We don't want vehicles or pedestrians at the site. For the months of July and August, we had a total of 74 contractor accounts utilize the C&D at West Guildford, and only 9 of those contractors exclusively utilize the site. I'm proposing that we operate the Halliburton Waste Disposal Site 6 days a week to accommodate contractors during this period.
Anybody have any questions? Comments?
Well, obviously, Walt, it's not ideal for everybody in Kenice and Guilford not to come down and do it, but it is what it is. But I don't think we got any choice at this point.
Yeah. Okay. We'll hear a resolution.
Be it resolved that council approve the temporary suspension of construction and demolition materials at the West Guildford landfill for the period beginning July 3rd, 2026 and ending no later than September 29th, 2026.
Mover and seconder, please. Barry and Pat, all in favor? Thank you.
Thank you. My final report is to notify council that we are past our capacity of tires at the Halliburton Waste Disposal Site. We're still trying to get them taken out. There's approximately 1,500 tires on site. According to our compliance approval, they should be taken out as soon as a load is accumulated. Once again, during the MECP's visit, They pointed out that the closure plan states waste needs to be removed once a week. I've reached out to E-Trax. They're trying to get someone to haul them out. We are still continuing to take them unless otherwise directed. Yeah, we're hoping to get them taken out as soon as possible, as it is a fire hazard.
So Ashley, I got the same problem. I got well over 1,000 tires in my yard. And I phoned Doug Ford 2 weeks ago. He phoned me back. I've talked to every minister he sent me. I got some contacts if you want them. We can't stop taking them. We have no choice.
Yeah.
They know it's a problem. They're working on it. I don't know when they're gonna fix it. They're not coming anytime soon. We're gonna have 5,000 tires here before we know it. So,
They could pick up the beer bottles and the tires. It's the same problem.
yeah.
They mandate the system and then we can't serve it because it's too problematic.
Yeah, but what they're telling me is they're changing the policy so that when from the time you make the call that you got a tire pickup, they only got so many days to get it. And I said, well, who's going to enforce that? Right? Like it's just going around in circles. So I'm going to bring you 1,000 tires next month, so you'll have some more.
Thank you. Looking forward to it. Okay, I'll reach out to you for the contacts.
All right. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that council receive the tire volume report for information purposes.
Mover and a seconder. Barry and Carm. All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
And next, Braden, we have the finance department.
First up is the check summary from April, just a housekeeping item. Nothing to note there.
Okay.
Be it resolved that council acknowledges receipt of the April 2026 check summary.
Mover and seconder. Nancy and Tammy, all in favor? Thank you. Next,
And so the next item, we have two section 357 tax applications. These date back to November of last year. They're for demolitions. It totals just under $360 for us as a write-off.
Resolution.
Be it resolved that council authorizes tax adjustments for applications made under section 357 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended.
Mover and seconder. Barry and Pat, all in favor? Thank you. Next.
So as council's aware, Cindy Watson is retired now as our deputy treasurer. We have Erin Neiman coming to fill her role. She starts on Monday, and we're looking forward to having her.
Okay.
Be it resolved that bylaw 2026-44 being a bylaw to appoint a deputy treasurer be read a first, second, and third time passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached hereto.
Mover and seconder. Nancy and Tammy, all in favor? Thank you. Investment policy.
And last one, so a couple of meetings ago, I brought the annual investment report to council and noticed that our policy was out of date, referenced sections and acts that have been long since repealed. So I wrote an update. It's in the package there for consideration. It doesn't functionally change how investments are managed. That's delegated to the treasurer and we report back once a year. It's just more up to date and a little more prescriptive than what we were working with.
Any questions? Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that council adopts the updated policy to govern investments of the municipality as enclosed.
Mover and seconder. Barry and Nancy. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Brady. Next, we have administration.
Oh, sorry, on the, yeah, okay, this is just the Amanda wrote this policy. It's on the Joint Compliance Committee and it's to establish that for following the election.
Okay.
It's just a standard policy.
Any questions? Mover and seconder? Oh, yeah, resolution.
No, be it resolved that bylaw 2026-42 being a bylaw to appoint members and establish the terms of reference for the Joint Compliance Audit Committee for the 2026 to 2030 term of council be read a first, second, and third time passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached thereto, and further that the clerk, in consultation with the clerks in the other local municipalities in Haliburton County, be provided delegated authority to present bylaws to appoint any future members or alternate members to the Joint Compliance Audit Committee directly to council for the 2026 to 2030 term as required, and further that the clerk be authorized in consultation with the CAO to select and appoint an auditor licensed under the Public Accounting Act 2004 if required for the purpose of conducting an audit in response to an application received by the Joint Compliance Audit Committee.
Mover and a seconder? Nancy and Pat? All in favor? Thank you. And next we have the planning. Jeff and Chris. I think they're gonna coming on here in a second. Hi, Jeff.
Good morning. So I will start with the first one and thank you, and through you, Deputy Mayor. This is the zoning application for the lands of Emerson that was discussed at the public meeting this morning. The resolution passed by council this morning is to recommend approval of the bylaw.
Okay. No further questions. Resolution, please.
Yes, thank you. Be it resolved that bylaw 2026-45 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2020 zoning bylaw 2005-120 for the lands of Emerson Lumber Limited, which consists of part lot 17, concession 8, plan 1, block Q, as well as lots 6 and 7, parts 1 and 2 on plan 19R 4416 in the geographic township of Dysart in the municipality of Dysart et al. This would change the zoning of the subject property from urban residential type 1 zone to the highway commercial zone to be read a first, second time, third time passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached thereto.
Mover and a seconder. Pat and Carm, all in favor? Thank you. Next. B.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Deputy Mayor. The bylaws before you will facilitate the conveyance of a shore road allowance in front of the lands of Adelson on Cranberry Lake. Standard comments were received from the County of Haliburton. They don't have any particular concerns, and the comments will be provided to the applicant. But subject to any questions from council, staff recommend approval of both bylaws.
No questions? Okay, thank you. Resolution.
Be it resolved that bylaw 2026-46, being a bylaw to stop up, close, and convey a portion of the original shore road allowance in front of lot 15, concession 4 in the geographic township of Guilford, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached thereto. And further be it resolved that bylaw 2026-47, which is a bylaw to deem block A, registered plan 501 in the geographic township of Guilford, not to be within a plan of subdivision for the purpose of the section 50 subsection 3 of the Planning Act as amended. Be read a first, second, and third time passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached thereto.
Mover and seconder. Mary and Carr, all in favor? Thank you. And Drag Lake.
Yeah, so the attached bylaw is for a joint application to facilitate the conveyance of a shore road allowance in front of the lands of Norris and Bleasdale on Drag Lake. The bylaw will also convey part of the road allowance at the end of True North Road and part of a 1-foot reserve adjacent to the road in exchange for a turning circle to become part of the municipal road system. If you recall, the neighbor, Mr. Kumpula had concerns that closing the road allowance at the end of True North Road would impede his ability to create a future driveway. The applicant and Mr. Kumpula have since reached a mutual agreement for an easement, which will resolve the driveway concerns. That will be facilitated through this bylaw, but also a private consent application. Additional comments have been received from Miss Smiley. She is the neighboring property across the road from the future turnaround. She is concerned about the possibility of water drainage issues and erosion issues to the road and her driveway once that turnaround is constructed. So staff circulated Public Works on this and received comments. Public Works notes that the road and the drainage function, once constructed, will be constructed as per municipal standards. So I don't believe there's any concerns there. Any ditching will be done. But subject to any council direction, staff recommend approval of the bylaw.
I don't see any questions. Last for the resolution, please. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that council approves bylaw 2026-48 to stop up, close, and convey part of the original shore road allowance in front of lot 7, concession 10, and exchange part of the road allowance for Cowling Drive, Plan 447, and part of the 1-foot reserve on Plan 447 for a turning circle in part of lot 6, concession 10 in the geographic township of Dudley. Be read a first, second, and third time pass, signed, and the corporate seal attached thereto.
Mover and a seconder. Nancy and Pat, all in favor? Thank you. All right. One more.
Yes, through you, Deputy Mayor, the subject severance proposal is a validation certificate for the lands of Barry on Kinesis Lake Road. In simple terms, this application is about correcting a title issue or a historical paperwork issue with how this property was originally created. The lot was never legally created under the Planning Act, and even though it has existed and been developed ever since. So a validation certificate allows council to recognize a parcel as legally valid, even though it was not created properly at that time. There are no circulation requirements for the Planning Act through the Planning Act for a municipal endorsement of a consent application. However, the proposal was circulated to internal departments as well as to the county. To date, the only comment received has been from the County of Haliburton, who note the following. They have no concerns with the validation certificate for this property, especially considering Planning Act consent was granted to enlarge the lot and the registry non-convert is preventing appropriate consolidation. They also note that section 7.14.2 of the county official plan requires that applicants pre-consult with the local municipality for all development applications for which the county is the approval authority. So that's what we are doing right now, is we're pre-consulting and commenting on that application. So subject to any council questions or directions, staff recommend that council support the general principle of the severance proposal.
Any questions? Okay. That's for the resolution, please.
Be it resolved that council supports the general principle of a proposal for a validation of title for file number D00SV 2026-008 for the lands of Barry.
Mover and seconder. Barry and Carm, all in favor? Thank you. All right, now we're going to our reports of local boards and committees.
Harcourt hasn't had any meeting yet.
Okay. Wes Guilford?
Not much going on. We're just deciding what to do for Kennedy. Obviously, we're getting the fireworks all ready to go, and they're thinking because it's midweek, they're just gonna have a roast beef dinner, so whoever wants to come when they're done work can show up. So far, that's where it sits.
Thanks. Rails and Gallery? Yes.
Suzanne James has joined the staff in late April. Welcome addition. Be very
Great.
getting ready for our
Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that council acknowledges receipt of the May 2026 Rails End Gallery and Arts Center report.
Halliburton BI, oh, sorry. Gotta ask for a mover and seconder. Barry and Nance. All in favor? Approved, thank you. All right. Halliburton BIA.
Thanks, Walt. Yeah, I went to the meeting there last week. Nothing really major to report on. Everybody's getting ducks in order for Midnight Madness and everything of the sort. There's some dialogue on the sidewalks. You know, everybody's excited to get that over and done with, which, you know, it's short-term pain for long-term gain on that note. So anyways, only thing I'll make mention, that we're having a struggle with, getting the banners up and down in a timely fashion. So we're just gonna make some different, gonna consult with a few other people just to see if we can make that work. Sharps has always taken him up and down, but he's got a lot on his plate and he's volunteered, I think, to do that for quite a few years. So anyway, it'd be nice to share that load with somebody else and get that done for everybody. But anyway.
Okay. Resolution.
Be it resolved that council acknowledges receipt of the minutes from the Halliburton BIA as information.
Okay. Have a mover and a seconder. Carm and Barry, all in favor? Thank you. All right. Harvest Halliburton, Pat.
Meeting's coming up, Walt. Nothing to report on the last.
The Kawartha Halliburton Source Protection, there's a meeting in April, not April, in I think it's June 23rd coming up, so I'll have a report on that. Tammy, Epatran?
Nope, I have nothing to report.
Nothing to report, okay. No. No minutes? Okay, just. All right, so. Good to go? Yep.
Be it resolved that bylaw number 2026-49 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular council meeting held on May 26, 2026 be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached thereto.
Mover, Nancy and Carm, all in favor? Thank you.
Be it resolved that council adjourn its regular meeting held on May 26, 2026 at 11:39 p.m.
Mover and seconder, Tammy and Pat,